Dunc Holder on a Tuesday, February 20th. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun here in our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Dave DeCorbier back at iHeart, pressing all the buttons, taking all your phone calls. If you want to get involved, 504-260-1280 is the number. Gonna have a good show today. Our buddy Andrew Lopez, of course, covers LSU. Will be in studio. We'll keep him. He thinks he's coming in for one segment. I'm going to keep him for two just because I'm going to lock the door and he can't get out.
Fair.
Absolutely.
Well, he's got anywhere else to go. He's stuck all day here, too.
So we'll talk with him about LSU baseball panic. The world's over. We'll talk with him about LSU basketball. They're going to be a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So all those good things, right? Those are both accurate statements. Am I wrong in that?
That's funny that we're going to that you're leading off with baseball. And I mean, I'm not going to scupper the rest of the show, but eventually we're going to talk about college baseball, and boy is behaving badly.
Well, it's not eventually. We're going to do this here quickly because there's a lot of ties to this and some crazy news coming out of Stark, Vegas. I would never think I would lead the show with Mississippi State baseball news. Very bizarre, unless it has to do with like Will Clark or something, since he's a Jesuit guy, local ties. But this has certain local ties, and Andy Cannizaro has resigned as Mississippi State baseball coach, and it's something that I know a lot of people uptown connected to Tulane are taking to heart, because Andy Cannizaro is one of the greatest Tulane baseball players to ever play at Turchin Stadium. Was there in the heyday when they made it to the College World Series. He was a big part. I remember them beating LSU in the Super Regionals at Zephyr Field back in 2001, and he was one of the best players on that team. And he is resigning 3 games into the season, and it's something that it sends shockwaves through the college baseball world, of course, SEC baseball country down here, but it's something that I know plenty of people are going to be taken aback by this news.
Well, obviously it's something unforeseen happened. The timing of it, clearly the abruptness of the dismissal leads you to believe that I think they fired him for cause. So something went awry for Andy Cannizaro over there. It's very unfortunate because he had such a tremendous debut season, and for it to end so quickly in his coaching career, a promising coaching career at a big-time school, big-time historic, tradition-laden baseball program. Now I think that whole program has to be kind of back to square one, trying to figure out how they pick up the pieces from this, and Andy Cannizaro's got to figure out how he can resurrect his coaching career.
Right, and here's a statement they just came out with probably about 10 minutes ago through Mississippi State. Cannizaro saying in a statement, "I had a wonderful opportunity at Mississippi State, but unfortunately, I made some poor decisions. I hope Mississippi State University and all of the fans and people affected will one day forgive me." So obviously, like you were saying, Jeff, not anything to do with on the field. Something's happening off the field, and if you go on the internet, of course, the speculation's rampant. I'm not jumping in any of the speculation because I don't know for any of it to be actually true. But the moral of the story is this is going to kind of rock Mississippi State, one of LSU's big rivals. Of course, look, LSU beat Mississippi State in a dramatic super regional last year, and Andy Cannizaro went from coaching at LSU to going to Mississippi State to getting a big job, and now it's all kind of crumbling. And to combine this, Andy Cannizaro was thought of by many to be, and many uptown are probably wondering, we dodged one here, because many wanted Andy Cannizaro to become Tulane's next baseball coach, and they went another direction with Travis Jewett, and now Travis Jewett still the Tulane coach, and Andy Cannizaro out with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Troy Gannon has taken a lot of heat and flack from some segments of the Tulane baseball community for not hiring Andy Cannizaro, especially last year when the Green Wave started slowly. And this recent news regarding Cannizaro, look, I'm sure nobody is happy about what's happened, but it certainly does paint the picture a little differently now. And Travis Jewett off to a good start at Tulane, but I think the concern right now has to be with Andy Cannizaro, his family, and his baseball coaching future. I mean, Andy Cannizaro is a local product, very popular, popular not only
His brother played for Tulane.
right, he's popular in the Tulane community, he's popular at LSU, and he's going to have to do some damage control and start over not only with his baseball career but maybe off the field as well, because this is obviously something that happened either in his personal life or something professionally that he went awry. We don't know what happened, but you don't fire somebody
with cause.
Right, 1 weekend into the season.
Well, they're
without
technically
something
saying he resigned now, so it's not necessarily that they're, you know the semantics. But and he's giving a statement and saying this, so he knows he was in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, let's be honest, at least partially. The biggest thing I think that is interesting about this entire story is that it's not so much that Cannizaro has kind of gone down a path that many, I think, have.
Well, we're not going to speculate what kind of something happened off the field.
Something happened off the field.
Obviously,
and it's unfortunate, but I think we have to ask the question, like with college basketball going through what will eventually be a very heavy overhaul, with all the talk that we have in college football that seems to sometimes take away off the field measures. I guess the question now should be for our group here is: does the NCAA and does college sports as a whole have an image problem, or are we talking about the fact that there are things that are going to happen over the course of many different type of ideals, whether it's on the field, off the field, whatever it is, things that we don't know about, things that we do know about. But it seems that we're talking about things like college basketball coaches and assistant coaches paying players. We're talking about college football players being arrested, suspended, back in the game the next week. Whatever we have going on, I think that there is something that we have college sports, which for many means so many different things as much as sports as a whole, but we're talking about this today to lead off the show among a lot of other things that are going on in the sports world, and I think that it's a justified question asking, does the NCAA, and especially one thing we haven't even talked about on the show, we didn't even talk about the Larry Nassar trial. We didn't talk about any of that. All the stuff that happened at Michigan State with Larry Nassar, the U.S. gymnastics coach, because he was at Michigan State for a long time, and obviously that president resigned. She wasn't going to resign, then she resigned, then the board, all this kind of stuff. We haven't even talked about that, but that's a huge thing too.
Like, I think that you can't bulk it all together and say that college sports has some image problem. I'm not. I think it's apples to oranges. These different cases. Look, this Andy Cannizaro, that is not some like systematic problem. Now Michigan State and the U.S. gymnastics stuff, obviously that was a systematic U.S. gymnastics major, massive issue. I wouldn't paint this one little, I'm not going to call it little because obviously it's a big deal, but this in its own micro setting, this Andy Cannizaro thing, I don't think you should bulk it all together. It's different problems coming from different areas, but it's something that this doesn't happen only in sports. Something that where someone does something bad outside of the workplace and gets you fired. I mean, that's not something new, and that won't stop here. It'll happen again.
Yeah, what were we going to say?
No, I was going to say real quickly, Jeff, like, the only thing I was going to say to Larry's point was, the thing for Mississippi State has lost their coach. Their players have lost their coach, who a lot of the guys who are freshmen now and guys that came in signed for him. So they lose a coach. Mississippi State loses staff in the middle of the year. The only reason I'm saying that is because regardless of whether or not we know what happens, and we're not going to speculate on what happened, people are going to talk. The media outside of Starkville are going to talk, and it's unfortunate as it is because we're not even talking about the players who have lost their coach and Mississippi State who now has to go about trying to figure out how they're going to do the rest of their season. That's the only thing I wanted to go in, Jeff, before.
Well, I was just going to say, it had to be something egregious because they fired him after 3 games or whatever, 3 or 4 games into the season, and he was a very popular coach. There was no suspension. There was nothing. There was no recourse. And when you don't dismiss somebody, whatever, he resigned, basically he got fired, or else you don't do it that quickly without it being something egregious. And I think it's right now Mississippi State has a new football coach, right?
Mm-hmm. And a new AD.
New AD, and now they're going to be searching for a new baseball coach. Their athletic program's in a little bit of disarray. That might be the one program in the country in worse disarray than Louisville right now.
Yeah, because I mean,
maybe
that's a good
I don't
point.
think so, but you know what I mean.
Give Bobby Petrino time.
Yeah, they've got some issues over there, but they do have an AD in place.
Well, that's the thing too. Like John Cohen was the head baseball coach for a long time. He moved to be the AD after
He had success in Kentucky, by the way.
Yeah,
just a heads up.
Yeah.
John Cohen in
Cohen.
baseball. Just a heads up.
Oh, really?
Yes. Which
I
speaking
didn't know
of,
anybody had success in Kentucky.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because Nick, one of the series that should be circled or is going to be circled by many is going to be when Mississippi State plays Kentucky because Kentucky's head coach Nick Mingione, I hope I'm saying that right, was a longtime assistant coach under John Cohen before he left to go take the Kentucky job. I think there might have been some in circles there who probably were looking at wanting to maybe bring him back as a coach, and instead they hired Cannizaro, who, I mean, he was unproven at the time because I mean he left the Major League Baseball scouting world after being with the Yankees organization, I believe, to come and be an assistant coach right off the bat at LSU. Then after a year, he leaves to go to be the head coach at a pretty storied program at Mississippi State, sight unseen. I understand that Tulane wanted him, but I mean to make that leap from
Tulane passed on him.
Yeah.
Cannizaro wanted that job.
Yeah.
I can tell you that for a
But
fact.
I mean, that's the thing too. Like he was unproven at that point. Like he had barely spent a year back in doing actual coaching work before he ends up landing a job at Mississippi State. Now, granted, you figure Cohen was probably more than anything looking at trying to maybe strike it hot with a very young coach who probably could have been the next up and comer. But unfortunately, now for them, they're left without a coach just a year and a week in.
Yeah, I'm curious to see because Paul Manera is going to be asked about this, and maybe later on this afternoon. For all I know, they take on UNO tomorrow night. The Tigers, I'm talking about. But yeah, this is something that obviously we would not normally open Dunc Holder with Mississippi State baseball news, but there's so many ties to here. There's a reason why we're talking about it, and look, it's a wild situation. I'm sure this isn't the last of this story that we're going to hear, but it's certainly an eye opener right now as we're in the midst of opening the college baseball season. And Andy Cannizaro resigning up in Mississippi State, saying I'm paraphrasing, had some missteps, and he hopes Mississippi State can one day forgive him. So we're not going to come on here and speculate whatever's out there. Some of it might be true, some of it might be totally false. So we're not in the business here of just saying whatever's out there floating on a message board. But interesting conversation. When we in about 15 minutes or so, we're going to have our own Andrew Lopez, of course, covers LSU everything, football, basketball, baseball. Going to be jumping on the show here in studio, so we will talk with him about that. I want to talk with him about LSU baseball. Also want to talk with him about LSU basketball. And later on the show, I had a couple sound bites from Will Wade's press conference yesterday. Shame on me for not playing more Will Wade sound bites. This guy, guy's great.
He had a couple yesterday that were really good.
This guy's great. There's a reason you could see there's life in LSU basketball, and we'll play some of those later on in the show. Also, a bit of breaking news in the NFC South world. We'll give you that when we come back on the show. And today is the first day NFL teams can start with the franchise tag. So we will talk about that. How will some of these players that get tagged possibly affect the Saints' plans going forward in free agency? And Jeff, I also want to go through some of the Saints free agents and see where the Saints might go there. And particularly, I think you and I are going to have a difference of opinion on some of these restricted free agents, a la Willie Snead, Brandon Coleman, and Delvin Breaux. And I just want to throw out some facts and figures about the dollar amounts and the dollar amounts of franchise tagging a player, which is one reason why you and me both agree Kenny Vaccaro would be the only candidate. He's not getting tagged, and there's no way that the Saints are probably going to be in that game.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have anybody even get a transition tag.
I would be stunned.
Yeah, nobody on this roster. They've got like this gulf of veterans that are already under contract and then younger players that are on rookie contracts. There's really nobody coming up anytime soon that's going to merit a big deal.
Speaking of more breaking news, having to do with your peeps up in Louisville coming up.
Bring it on.
Curious to see what's going to happen. So we'll bring all of you the breaking news coming up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc Holder.